What would you do if the woman you swore to spend your life with, the one who promised forever, was secretly carving out a life with another man right under your nose? The night everything broke was a Tuesday. Not with a bang, but with the soft, insidious glow of her phone screen at 2 a.m. I saw a text notification flash across the lock screen, a name I didn't recognize, followed by a heart emoji. My heart, however, felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. She stirred, mumbled something about a work email, and rolled over, but the image of that name, that emoji, burned itself into my retina. I pretended to sleep, my mind racing, a cold dread settling deep in my gut. I knew with a certainty that chilled me to the bone that my perfect life was about to shatter, and I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. The humiliation hit me first, a tidal wave of nausea that threatened to drown me. Sarah, my Sarah, the woman I had built a life with in our beautiful home in the Hollywood Hills, was a stranger. The texts, initially innocuous, quickly escalated. Late-night calls she'd take in the guest room, whispering, "Just a client, honey." The sudden interest in new lingerie, not for me, but for someone else. The scent of a foreign cologne on her clothes, masked poorly by her usual perfume. Each small detail was a shard of glass, piercing my illusion of marital bliss. I started noticing the patterns. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, was now always clutched in her hand or face down. Her explanations for late nights grew increasingly elaborate, peppered with details that felt rehearsed. "Traffic on the 101 was a nightmare, darling," she'd say, her eyes darting away. Or, "My boss needed me to stay late for a presentation at the office on Wilshire Boulevard." I'd nod, feigning understanding, but inside, a storm was brewing. I was becoming a detective in my own home, sifting through the wreckage of my marriage. Sarah, once warm and affectionate, transformed into a cold, calculating stranger. Her touch became mechanical, her words clipped. She'd dismiss my concerns with a wave of her hand, her voice dripping with condescension. "You're being paranoid, Mark. It's just work." She made me feel small, foolish, as if my instincts were a flaw, not a warning. The affair partner, Richard Thorne, a real estate mogul I'd seen at a few charity galas, seemed to revel in his smugness. I'd catch glimpses of him on Sarah's social media, liking her posts, leaving comments that were just a little too familiar. They felt untouchable, living in their bubble of deceit, while I withered in plain sight. One night, after Sarah had left for another work dinner, I found myself staring at our wedding photo on the mantelpiece. Her radiant smile, my hopeful gaze, was all a lie. I felt a profound, soul-crushing despair. I broke down, sobbing silently into my hands, the weight of her betrayal crushing me. But as the tears dried, a cold, hard resolve began to form. This wasn't just about pain anymore. It was about justice. I began to gather proof meticulously, patiently. I hired a private investigator, a discreet woman named Alina, who operated out of a nondescript office in downtown Los Angeles. She provided me with time-stamped photos, hotel receipts from the Beverly Wilshire, and recordings of their hushed conversations in a parking garage near Sarah's office. I installed discreet cameras in our home, capturing Sarah's furtive calls and the way she'd meticulously delete messages. I even managed to recover deleted texts from her old phone, revealing a timeline of their sordid affair that stretched back over a year. The evidence was damning, irrefutable. My revenge had to be surgical, devastating, and public. I consulted with a sharp divorce attorney, Ms. Evelyn Reed, known for her ruthless efficiency in high-profile cases. We devised a plan. Sarah had always been obsessed with appearances, with her social standing, with the illusion of her perfect life. It would be her undoing. I started by subtly leaking information to a few key figures in her social circle. A well-placed anonymous email here, a carefully timed accidental mention there. The whispers began. The public exposure came during a charity gala at the Biltmore Hotel, an event Sarah had meticulously planned and where she expected to be the belle of the ball. As she stood on stage, basking in the applause, I walked in, a USB drive in my hand. On the large screen behind her, meant for a presentation on her philanthropic efforts, suddenly flashed a slideshow. It's not of her charity work, but of Sarah and Richard, in compromising positions at various hotels, accompanied by snippets of their intimate texts. The room erupted in gasps, then a stunned silence. Sarah went pale, her eyes wide with horror, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. The divorce proceedings were brutal. With the evidence I had, Sarah lost everything. Her reputation was in tatters. Her social circle evaporated, and her career as a high-end event planner was over. Richard, the cowardly affair partner, disappeared, leaving her to face the fallout alone. She was financially ruined, forced to sell the Hollywood Hills mansion, her designer clothes, her expensive jewelry. She tried to fight, to claim emotional distress, but the sheer volume and undeniable nature of my evidence crushed her at every turn. The final blow came months later. Sarah, desperate and broken, had tried to claim I was emotionally abusive, fabricating stories to gain sympathy. It was a last-ditch effort, a pathetic attempt to salvage some dignity. My attorney, Ms. Reed, presented the court with a document Sarah had signed months prior. A legal agreement for the cremation of a beloved family pet, our golden retriever Max, who had passed away. Sarah had signed it without a second thought, a routine formality, but the papers I revealed in court, the ones she had signed, were fake. They were a decoy. The real cremation papers, which I had kept hidden, were for asterisk, a chilling, symbolic gesture, a premonition of her social death. She went pale, her face draining of all color, as the judge looked on, bewildered. The silence in the courtroom was deafening, a cold, heavy blanket. She never saw it coming, the quiet, methodical dismantling of her entire existence.